Good evening and welcome to the City of Glendale Civil Service Commission meeting for May 14, 2014. May I please have roll call?
Commissioner Devine?
Here.
Commissioner Manukian?
Here.
Chair Kazarian?
Here.
And let the record show Commissioner Yakubian and Hatamian are absent.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Minutes.
Move to approve, dispense from reading.
Second.
Unanimous consent of those present. Thank you. Next item, please.
Oral communications.
Seeing no cards or anyone approaching the podium, thank you. Next item, please.
Recruitment and examination report.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this item is a note and file, and it's simply a report to show you the current status of our recruitment load at the moment. Somewhat sizable. You see at various stages about 50 recruitment processes occurring. As you can see, each of the recruitments are allocated to various staff. We have the filing period listed, the dates of the various exams, whether it's written, performance, and oral, and it's all there for you to see. If you have questions on this report, be happy to try and answer them. If not, again, this is note and file.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you. Next item, please.
Eligible list established.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, same as the previous item, the eligible list established. This is, again, as I always say, the culmination of our recruitment process is the establishment of eligibility lists. This report shows the various recruitments that have been conducted since our last meeting, the department that they occurred, whether the recruitment was a promotional examination or an open examination, open meaning open to the general public. And then, again, the kind of the most interesting part of this report shows the number of applications received, and then the far right column, the number of candidates that make it onto the eligibility list. As you can see from the report, it's a testament to the challenging nature of our examination processes that you often see large numbers of applicants narrowed down to a very small select group that make it through that process, particularly with the open recruitments where you see one that had a total of 427, another that had 291, and again, a relatively small eligibility list. So one other one that I would bring to your attention is Fire Captain, which is a promotional recruitment. As you can see on that one, we had 18 candidates. That was, again, kept in-house. Quite a challenging process involving multiple stages, and we only ended up with 4 candidates passing. So with that, again, if you have any questions about any of these recruitments, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Again, this is a note and file item.
Any questions? Thank you. Next item, please.
Class specification for approval, Utility Financial Analyst Series.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle.
Members of the Commission, this is not a note and file item. This is an item we need approval from the Commission. This is the establishment of a new class specification series within really it's our finance department, but it's the finance unit that works primarily within our Glendale Water and Power. It's called the Utility Financial Series. Right now, the staffing, the people in this position we utilize the administrative analyst job series, and that's sort of a generic job classification series used throughout the organization. And we've come to the realization that this, like many other professions within the organization, does require a more specialized set of knowledges, skills, abilities, as well as minimum requirements. In this particular series, again, the duties and minimum requirements are going to focus more on utility finance, which is, again, a bit of a specialty. We have 4 classifications in this series. We probably will not use all of them, but we want to have a full series at our disposal at various points when we're doing the hiring process for these positions. Again, this is a new series, and I do have staff from the finance department. Mr. Bob Elliott is here, as well as Ms. Martin from my staff, if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
I do have a couple of quickies.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that the current positions are filled by administrative analysts or financial analysts. For this new series, will these new designations be at a higher pay rate than the existing financial analysts?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Devine, no. It would be a lateral equivalent type level as far as pay. In other words, the administrative analyst and utility financial analyst will be the same level. Senior administrative analyst would be the same level as the senior utility financial analyst. The principal utility financial analyst would be the same level as our executive analyst, which is the next level up. And one thing I didn't mention, this utility finance manager is actually an existing position in our classification resolution, and we just decided to incorporate that into this series. But for the ones below it, as we fill these are strictly lateral moves and won't involve any additional
Are
pay.
these going to be open or promotional exams?
I'd like to refer to either Ms. Martin. I'm not sure. I know we have some that are filled. I know we have a vacancy.
What was the question again?
To fill these positions, are you going to have open or promotional exams?
Probably promotional. We have one vacancy now in the admin analyst, so we'll recruit for that one, open recruitment. The others will be promotional.
Okay. And one last question. On the page of the org chart, it shows a utility finance administrator, executive analyst, et cetera. How does that fit into the overall organization?
Well, right now we have 3 existing finance administrator positions. One that oversees accounting and that side of the house. We have one over budget, and then one upstairs in the utility. That position is vacant right now. So that's kind of the division head of that group.
Okay.
That group is part of finance now. As of July 1, it's going to officially budgetarily move back to the utility. But we'll have, as we say, a heavy dotted line to finance
Okay.
for operational needs.
Thank you. I second the motion to approve.
Thank you. Unanimous consent of those present. Next item, please.
Advertising expenditure report for the period of January 2014 to March 2014.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is the quarterly advertising report. This measures January 1st through March 31st of this fiscal year. As you know, we have somewhat of a small budget for advertising, and I think we've prudently managed that budget well over the years. In this instance, we have actually exceeded our budget by about $1,000 in this year, and it's just a couple of factors relating to that. We had some very heavy advertising costs in the second quarter, and we've pretty much reached our limit on about 13,000. I think it's 13,900. But we again try to spread our advertising costs around various different publications, and this report is always divided into 3 areas. First, those publications or websites that target various ethnic communities. The second is sort of the technical or specialized journals and websites, and the third is sort of just the generic or general type of websites and publications, LA Times, News Press, and places like that. And the report does indicate where we have advertised these various positions to get the best outreach. So again, this is a note and file item. We also do try to give you a general idea of some of the outreach activities that we've taken part in this particular quarter. We attended a career fair at Allen F. Daly High School. There was a Veterans Job Fair on March 6th that we participated in. The Armenian Youth Federation Career Fair was held on Sunday, March 30th. We had representatives there, and then the following day we had a Glendale Community College Job Fair, which is kind of a big event. So it's, staff likes to stay active and get the word out about our jobs and certainly careers in government, the city of Glendale. So those are sort of the things that we've been doing. So if you have questions on this, I'd be happy to try and answer your questions. Otherwise, it's a note and file item.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Discussion regarding the civil service rules and regulations to civil service employees' rights to seek review by the Civil Service Commission of a performance-based transfer.
Thank you. I am going to move to have this item tabled because of the absences that we have. I believe that it is more appropriate that the entire commission is present when this item is being taken up. Is that acceptable?
Can we schedule it for a date certain? For example, the next meeting, which would be on May 28th?
I may not be here on that day. I may be here, but I may not be here. That is
Next confirmed
An
date that
Armenian
everybody
holiday.
can attend.
is June 11th? Is the meeting after next. Because May 28th is Independence Day of the First Republic of Armenia, and there'll be activities and events in the community that I may
Will we
be.
set June 11th then?
Certainly.
Chair agrees.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Very well, thank you. Next item, please.
Discussion regarding the request by counsel for Sergeant Vahak Mardikian, Mr. Goldwasser, for review by the Civil Service Commission of the 5% pay reduction as a result of the performance-based transfer of his client.
Thank you. As to that item as well, I have received and am privy of an email that was sent by Mr. Goldwasser to our Chief Examiner, Mr. Doyle. I was CC'd on that. The matter having been resolved between the parties, I believe it is appropriate to take that item off calendar permanently.
Agreed.
Is that agreed? Yes?
Yeah.
Very well, thank you. Next item, please.
Reports and information.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle?
Let me see. I have no reports.
I'm sorry?
I have no
Reports. Very well, thank you. Having said that, next item, please, Mr. Doyle. Oh, next item, please go ahead.
Agenda forecast.
Mr. Doyle.
The agenda forecast is simply a forecasting document. We really have no items other than the tonight's item number 8, which will be brought back on June the 11th, 2014. And as you know, there is one hearing occurring, which commences for the better part of June. And with that, really have nothing more in the works other than a lot of our routine job descriptions and bulletins, things like that. So.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Civil Service Commission staff comments.
Thank you. Any comments? No. I have a comment. I have not seen or heard the proceedings of the City Council meeting yesterday, but I was made aware that the Honorable Mr. Mayor Zare Sinanian was going to close the meeting recognizing the passing of a champion resident of the city of Glendale, who I am proud to call my best friend of 30 years, Attorney Viken Simonian. Much can be said about Viken Simonian, but it is appropriate to say on this evening from the Civil Service Commission that he was the ultimate civil servant and the ultimate Glendalian. Aside from the countless hours that Viken Simonian devoted to being a pro tem judge in the county of Los Angeles, he devoted equally countless hours to all of our municipal elections in the city of Glendale for many, many years. He is the chairman emeritus of the Armenian Bar Association. He has mentored many an attorney. He was the reason that I followed in his footsteps into law school, and I followed in his footsteps into the city of Glendale when he moved to Glendale 20 some odd years ago. I could say that he was a man that lived without hate, without envy, and without fear. He was simple, honest, frank, and natural, and he empowered many of our youth in our city to achieve their optimum potential, and the city of Glendale lost a treasure late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. I'm grateful to the police department and the fire department and the paramedics that were there. I was there. But he fought gallantly the dreaded Lou Gehrig disease, the ALS, longer than he was told he could fight it. And he worked up until the very last day. He went to work on Monday to his law office, came home, and passed away. So I will ask that we acknowledge his contributions to our great city with a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Closed session.
Is there any closed session items? I don't think there is, right? Very well. Next item, move to adjourn? Yes?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.